So the Nano Cortex is real, fairly certain, because there's a Bluetooth identification report, because Neural DSP went through Bluetooth certification, which I guess must be a thing. So if you check the link, I'll chuck it in the comments, but basically it says that the Nano Cortex guitar floor modeler with Bluetooth low energy, certified on 18th of January. So this was around the NAMM time where there was that big soon thing. I feel like something kind of went awry there, and it seems like maybe that was a bit of a launch that went wrong. But this product is indeed coming soon, and I think it might be even Tuesday. That's just a guess.
This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. Neural DSP have been up to some stuff, and you might have seen yesterday they had this sort of teaser announcement with George Lever, Rabia Massad, and I think a guy from Architects. And it wasn't that clear what it's been about. Actually, Steve Stelacci has done a little bit of investigative work, I think involving the Gear page. I've just found this thread on the Gear page, kind of speculating about some of this stuff. Someone has put up an image of what looks to be something that may be related to what is coming. So I thought maybe we can talk about this. Check out Steve's video as well. And I think Steve is a beta tester for Quad Cortex, so he might have some insight that he's not allowed to tell you, or maybe he doesn't, but we'll see. Anyway, so first of all, it looks like basically the Nano Cortex is what's coming, right? And if you look at it, it looks to be like a pretty small form factor pedal with two switches. They've got labels 1 and 2. It doesn't appear to have a screen on it. The reason that I think this image looks like it might be credible and somewhat relevant is because if you checked out the soon, the way they've written soon, it's got kind of like, you know, sort of like the Kemper player, or like the Kemper where you've got potentiometers that have the lights that are part way up, so like soon one knob and the other O is another one. So that's kind of, it looks as if that ties in with this image that someone screenshotted from Facebook. If you check through the trademarks for Neural DSP, they did have a dual Cortex and Cortex Native, which were trademarked a while ago, but have since been abandoned. So Nano Cortex is not one of these things that has been trademarked, but I guess it would be a bit daft to release a trademark for a product that hadn't yet been released. The other thing is that it looks like this casing is very much like the Quad Cortex, which would make sense, so aluminium casing. And does it look something like, I think Adam was the name of the bass preamp that they came out with before. So I think it looks to me, and switches look similar. It doesn't just look like a Photoshop, where you've seen Photoshops before. And it looks like, if you've not got a screen on this unit, that it's going to need to be run by Bluetooth or an editor, and we definitely have editor capability with Neural DSP Quad Cortex, so it looks like that could be potentially where things are headed. And if you look at the Adam preamp, stuff from Darkglass, I guess this might be somewhere where we could look for some similarities, because that is kind of where Neural DSP came from, right? And so if you look at the Adam preamp from Darkglass, I guess this is where the Nano Cortex is going to be positioned. It's a bit different to any other product on the market, to be honest, if it is actually what we're looking at. It looks like there's, you can make out some of what's written on the screen, like bass, mid and treble. Then there's an amount for an effects thing as well on there. So there's going to be some amount of tweakability on the unit itself, but it doesn't look like you could do the whole shebang there, right? It sort of looks like you're going to need Bluetooth or an editor to get the full works out of this thing. Now, what could it possibly be? The Quad Cortex is essentially 4 processors, right? And they are set up so that 2 run the first signal chain, like from a helix, and 2 others run the bottom one. If you're going to call it Nano Cortex, does that mean less than half? I don't know. So dual Cortex would have been the obvious name for something that was exactly half a Quad Cortex, like the Stomp to the Helix. So that's an interesting one. If anything, it kind of looks, and guys in the gear page thread was saying this, closest to something like a Kemper player, where it looks like it's sort of taking some of the stuff from the full unit and then paring it back a bit. And it looks more or less like you're going to be running a capture and some effects, right? From what we can see and speculate from that image. Would you be interested in this sort of thing? For me personally, what I really like about the Quad Cortex is that it's actually like the smallest unit already and most powerful relative to size. I think that was one of the benefits of the Quad Cortex, really. If there were slightly negative aspects to it, you've got things like the power supply, which I'm going to guess if you have this unit which doesn't have a screen on it, that you're going to not need a specific power supply either. So that's probably just going to run off of straightforward 9 volts. Without a screen, these kind of things can be powered relatively easily. Is it going to be able to run captures? I'd imagine so. It looks like it says capture on there, I think. It's definitely got a cab icon on there too. Sort of looks like there's 3 buttons. One is capture, one is save, I think. So could they be making like a really small capture unit? Could that be a thing? It literally, I think it looks like it says capture and save. But again, all of these knobs seem to have that thing going on where they look like that zoom sign. So that's what makes me think this could be a legit thing. And it definitely looks like there's a combi input on the right hand side here. So whether this is an early prototype or anything like what the Nano Cortex could be, I guess we'll just have to keep speculating. It'll probably be Tuesday if I had to guess that they'll release more on this. Typically when they start this soon campaign with plugins and stuff like that, the release tends to be on a Tuesday. So I guess that's when we might know a bit more. But, you know, having seen this, it definitely looks to me like that is probably what's coming. And that looks like it could be a really small capture unit that can run some effects. 2 buttons that you could probably program to do a bunch of stuff. Basically like some of the Quad Cortex experience pared way down, but simplified for potentially use on a pedal board. I think makes a ton of sense, to be honest with you, because that is the way that a load of people are running a Quad Cortex as part of the pedal board. And this actually, in that case, is probably going to sell like hotcakes. If hotcakes are still selling, because something like this, potentially you could keep the price down considerably, price it something like an HX Stomp. It might not necessarily be as flexible, but it might also be significantly different. Like, it's not the same type of product at all. Like, is this something that can create captures, be powered by Bluetooth or an editor, but you run a few captures on it, you run a couple of effects, and put it on an effects pedal board. Yeah, it looks like an interesting thing, to be honest. It's not just the same as what's come before, so I'm quite keen to see what it is that Neural DSP are doing with this. And now I'm going to go and play some guitar through Plini. I'll catch you in another video soon. Please feel free to join in the speculations. Just a bit of fun, innit? You watched the 24-minute video from Neural, not giving you any info, so, you know, here's another one. Cheers for stopping by.